All right. So we're getting into conversations for this hour. Money, sometimes, you have it, and then in the event of one loss or the other, it kind of disappears. Assets just kind of, find their way. There's an authority in this country that keeps those assets until they are claimed. And that's the conversation that we will be having this hour. And our guest for the hour is already seated. The Caroline Chirchir is the acting CEO and managing trustee of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, and she's in the hot seat this morning. Caroline, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're in the hot seat of the Situation Room, and we are told that there's money in the billions just sitting somewhere waiting for somebody to pick it up. So you're going to tell us about this pot of gold and how we can get it at the end of the rainbow, depending on who you are, isn't it? But to welcome you in true Situation Room style, this young gentleman, CT Muga, goes around the continent every week. He collects proverbs from different countries, and then he comes back with them. And then he gives us work to do. So when you come into the room every day, you tell us what you think about the proverb that he's going to share today and how you would interpret that. Is that okay? As though you don't have enough work to do, we're giving you some more. Okay.
It's actually very interesting that we're talking about unclaimed assets. The book of Ecclesiastes speaks about the same subject and talks about how you work hard, you accumulate. When somebody you don't even know, somebody who didn't even work for it, comes and takes it.
And takes it away.
Yes.
It's a time.
It was the context in which the writer was building up to saying, all these things are vanity.
Vanity, vanity.
Yes,
Everything is
vanity.
vanity.
Yes. So since the proverb that I'm about to read also talks about God, it, understand how it fits in.
It fits.
God gives nothing to those who keep their arms crossed.
Wow. God gives
Nothing to those who keeps their arms crossed.
That's a good proverb, and it is in the Bible.
No.
It's from Mali.
It's from Mali.
Yeah. No, I thank you very much for making that correction.
Yes.
It just occurred to me because I was reading the book of Ecclesiastes and that came to me. But the Malians, who are predominantly Muslim, yes, have this particular saying. Yes. Yes. Mali is predominantly, and the Malians predominantly practice the Islamic faith. Yes.
So the meaning of that proverb.
Yes, please.
That God gives
nothing to those who keep their
arms crossed.
Yes.
I think the meaning of it is that if you do not work,
yes,
you will not get anything, and you won't earn, and therefore you will not get nothing for free.
Right.
Yes.
You actually can't work with your arms crossed. Can
Yes.
You? No, you
Yeah.
can't.
If you cross your hands, then nothing will happen.
Yeah.
You have to work for
You
it.
have interpreted it very well.
Thank you.
Yes.
There we go. So we're talking about the Unclaimed Assets, Financial Assets Authority.
Yes.
Can we just start from the very beginning, what this authority is and what exactly it does? Because here we are thinking, okay, this is nifty. There's billions of shillings sitting somewhere, and the authority is basically begging people to come and get it. But maybe you can give us some clarity as to what the authority is and what it does.
Thank you for this opportunity that I've been able to come to this studio this time. The Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority was established by an Act of Parliament, Unclaimed Financial Assets Act of 2011, number 40 of 2011. The Unclaimed Financial Assets, what it does is that it receives and safeguards and reunify the assets that have been received. And these are financial in nature, which are held by various holders. So the mandate of the institution, Fuel, is now to receive those assets, financial assets, and safeguard, and finally look for the rightful owners. And in 2016, the regulations were gazetted so that it helps to operationalize the act that formed the authority. Yes.
Okay. So where does all this money come from?
The monies come from various holders. When we talk about the holders, I'll give examples like the banking industry. We have the insurance companies. We have the SACCOs. So all this over time, probably some people may have left the SACCO, for instance, and forgot that they had their money there, or for some reason did not go back for it. Or even the banks may have a fixed, someone may have opened up a fixed account and over time probably forgot to go back, or left an account to be inactive for some time. So the Act prescribes how an asset qualifies to be unclaimed. And therefore, all these holders, by virtue of compliance with the Act, are supposed to remit to the authority at the opportune time, so that we are able to look for those owners. So these assets are from various holders in the various sectors of in the market.
Okay, so I mean, walk us through this so we can understand. So person X, let's call her Grace, okay?
Yes.
Has money in a SACCO, has money in a bank, right? For whatever amount. And unfortunately, Grace passes away. And this money remains in the SACCO. For how, or in the bank, for how long would it remain there before the authority is made aware that it's there and that something needs, or is notified of these monies there?
According to how the Act is prescribed, within 2 years, if some account is inactive, and also the SACCO, if they're not able to trace the owners or the share, the owner of those assets, let's say their savings in an account for 2 years, then it qualifies to become unclaimed. And therefore, they are expected as the holders to comply with the Act and now remit those funds. So 2 years for those who have those accounts in the banks which are inactive. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Who is responsible? Okay, so usually family is going to try, if they are aware that there are assets there.
Yes.
Does the authority then try to get in touch with family members to make sure that maybe they're either not in a process of trying to get these funds out, or have tried and have failed for whatever reason? Or does that then move until family comes later? How does that process work?
Well, what happens is the holders are also expected to look out for the owners, because they are the primary custodians of the records and the contacts of these people, be it their customers, for instance. So they are supposed to inform them that within we haven't gotten reached you, we have not seen any movement on your account for some time, and therefore within this period of time, it shall be remitted to Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. So they are supposed to demonstrate as the holders that they have reached out to would-be members or other customers, let's put it like so. Once they're not able to get the owners activate or come back to get their funds, then they remit to us. So what we do, one of the activities that we also do is we look for them, we find a way of tracing them, of locating them, and so that we notify them to know that their funds have now been remitted by various holders to check with us. So in a situation, I think you mentioned, if somebody like the Grace you mentioned in quote that passed on, we expect now their beneficiaries, who are their family members, to also check with us. Then they will be guided accordingly on how to start the claim. Yes.
Now, talking about finding and claiming, I'm curious on how you do it, because you've said you will find them. I mean, there are avenues. I believe there is an aspect of the e-citizen. I do not know. Just walk us through that. How do you I know, finding and claiming. For me, I'm really curious on that. And also just shedding light on these other platforms. I believe there's a number that is dialed. Is it by you? Is it by me? And how does the public then come in?
Thank you. What we do, tracing, of course, people may not be very easy. That's a fact.
Yes.
That's something that even we are finding as a challenge too as an institution. But being our mandate, we are out to look for all options and explore most of the options of how we can do that. So quickly what we do, we have USSD number that we encourage the members of the public to check on *361 hash, so that they will be guided on how to search their assets. Also from our website, www.ufaa.go.ke, one can also search through that. We have call centers. We have one in the head office, which is, we are only in Westlands in Nairobi. And also we have partnered with Huduma centers. So far we have 5 centers in Nairobi. We are piloting, but in the near future, we are going to expand to various Huduma centers in the country. So this is part of the places that we encourage the members of the public to check. Yes.
Why don't people come and collect? The money that we're looking at is 80 billion shillings. Yes. Or am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
80 billion shillings. Yeah. How long has this 80 billion shillings been there? I would imagine that as you go along, more and more is added into the pot.
Yes.
But how long have we been talking? Because the call has been there for a while. Kenyans, come, collect your money. Why wouldn't people come and pick this up?
Thank you. What happens is the institution, or rather the authority, is now about 10 years, but the operations began in 2014. So by the time we got the regulations gazetted in 2016, that's when the process of now calling and asking the members of the public to come and claim. So what we have done is that we try as much also to organize functions or occasions or forums, like what we call clinics in various parts of the country, so that they come and check with us. For the monies that we have, it's safeguarded in an account in Central Bank, and that's how holders also are advised to remit this money. So it doesn't come directly to an account which the authority has, maybe in a commercial bank, for instance. Being a government institution, the funds are remitted in a central bank account. So all these funds, yes, it's about over 80 billion for sure, in terms of cash, and shares are at a tune of about 1.9 billion units. Of course, the fluctuation in the market in terms of the market price for the shares keep changing. That's why the portfolio generally, let's say, is over 80 billion. So all this, as we look around for the owners to come, we have so far been able to reunify our worth amount of 2.4 billion with 34,900 members of the public, and also 55 million shares have been reunified. So I think the question is why that people are not coming. Of course, every year as more funds are coming which qualify, the portfolio keep growing. And one of the things which have been a challenge is there's low awareness. Many people didn't know about the authority. For the last years that have been on, the authority has been in existence, and that's why we've gone out of our way to really try and hype up for the members of the public to know that there is an authority called Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, which are holding some funds that one is encouraged to come and check. Another thing is because of there is the regulations give some prescriptive nature of how to claim. So it explains the process in which, or the documents that are required for one to have, and it applies across regardless of the amounts, be it a low value, as we may call it, and high value. So some of it could also discourage the members of the public. However, we are in the process of finding ways so that we diversify in terms of category and the values of the assets that we have, if it can encourage more people to claim. Another matter is because we get what we call unstructured reports from the holders. Some of it are incomplete. You may get just because an institution is running to, or rather is rushing to comply, to make sure it's normally by 1st November of every year. So in such situations, they might just remit money just now the details in terms of the contacts of the owners. So, yes, the funds come, may have just one name or the name of the person, but no context. So some of the challenges that we are experiencing now as an authority is how do we then trace these people? So we have, and again, another area which has caused also a delay of sorts or slow awareness or rather uptake is because the succession after one passes on. So the succession process takes so long. So you may find indeed somebody has checked, the beneficiaries have checked, but the succession process has taken so long. So such that now the fund still remains with us until they complete. So, so some of the challenges that I experienced that are causing that low uptake.
What happens to these funds? You said they sit somewhere in the central bank.
Yes.
Okay, so they're sitting. And then what then do they do in that sitting position?
Allow me just to take water.
No, take two sips.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Indeed, the monies or the funds are in central bank, and it's the safest way because so there is segregation. Like even the authority, we would not just access that money unless when we now have we have a budget like everybody else. We estimate that this year we are going to reunify such X amount of claims. So we are allowed now transfer that money to a commercial bank for ease of now payment. So what we do, the funds while in central bank is invested in treasury bonds and treasury bills, so that it helps also partly in the operations of the institution.
Yes.
But let me say that it's not that all the investment income received is fully utilized in operations. We do a budget like any other institution and just utilize what has been approved for each year. So the funds are in central bank as it is,
And
just for safeguarding.
Okay, interest, good thing. Bonds, wonderful thing. Now, you utilize some of it for operations, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And the other bit that isn't utilized?
As it is now, it's still, we're in conversation so that we are able to be guided by the stakeholders in government on what happens with the extras that are not fully utilized.
What I'm actually asking is,
Yes.
if there's interest on these things that is earned, the people whose money it is that has earned this, can some of that money go in their directions? That when you claim, let's say, what the money that was unclaimed that I know of was 1 shilling. Can it be 1 shilling .002 at the time I'm getting it? Because this 1 shilling was invested and I've then gotten, we got 0.04, but you used 2, so there's the other 2 remaining.
Okay.
Yes.
I get you.
Yes.
We had, that has been a very common question for sure and a concern. The challenge is that if we get into that scenario whereby we give the owners, including the interest, chances are some people may actually check and just hold not to claim, and then we end up being another investment. Yeah, for sure. Because if I am able to see my 100,000 there, and I know let me hang on another year, another 2 years, I'll get in with an income and an interest. So we end up now completely getting to, that's not our mandate per se.
Yes.
So we hope to look forward to a time when these funds, of course, with a lot of stakeholder engagement and also with the government institutions concerned, that can be plowed back to support in social good for the public per se. But of course, there will be guidance on that and a clear legal framework to
Makes
guide
perfect
that.
sense.
Yes.
Something else which concerns me. By the time you have 80 billion in unclaimed financial assets, 1.8 billion, you're talking about value of shares. It tells us something about the way we understand the need to pass on whatever wealth we have or to structure it so that those who we consider our family can have access to it when we are not there. Okay, that's my guess. Your institution probably has done a deep dive in this. What does this tell us about Kenyans and the way it is we think of succession, we think of writing wills, because if there's a will, I don't think there'd be much of a problem.
They wouldn't.
Yes, but this speaks to the fact that there is or there are no wills, and there is nothing clear. So that's why the money sits there. Yes.
As you rightly put it, with time we have realized that I don't know whether it is not only Kenyan culture or African culture per se that people don't write wills. There is always that fear of, I don't know, maybe if you write.
Your death.
Yes, exactly, like you're predicting your death and all. And we found over time that these are some of the challenges that we experience, that people or do not even tell their families what assets or what investments they have. You may have someone having an account in a certain bank. They have bought shares in some certain, maybe listed companies, and the like. And as such, they just keep quiet. So it's only at the point when one has passed on that this comes up. So it's true. It's a call for all of us. As Kenyans, as members of the public, that's important to engage our family members, let them know the various investments that we have, and it just helps so that for some reason. And some of the things that have also caused that even this becomes unclaimed is that people may just get sick and lose their memory and may not remember. So in the process, even if over time, it completely gets forgotten because he or she may not remember.
Yeah.
We have also gotten a situation whereby over time again, the post office, which people mainly used to use the post office boxes, was kind of communal. Maybe you use a box number for the school those days or for a church, and that would almost serve the whole community. And then over time again, it has changed. We are now having the postal code. Those days it wasn't there. So it's if a check is sent, for instance, and then it just gets lost in the process. So that's getting also to update your records and moving with the times is also one of the things that is very critical that as members of the public, we need to learn.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Some folks this morning are already saying, hang on a minute. This authority exists, number one, so we're going to get past that surprise. And then saying that they know for a fact, one saying that, their father definitely had shares in an organization. Number two, SACCO issues. They had no idea that this authority exists in the first place. And obviously, in today's economy, some of that money can actually be very helpful to the family at this point because, father's not there. They're not going to use it. So how do they even begin? Where do they start from?
Okay. Thank you. It just, as mentioned, many people didn't know about the authority, and some of them, I'm glad that they are beginning to learn or know about it. So the best thing is to check on our website, which is www.ufaa.go.ke. Again, the star 361 hash is also one of the platform that we can use, one can use rather, to check. We're also launching and having a number on WhatsApp that I would want to give, which is 0706 866 984. That's also another platform that we're using, that one can engage using that on WhatsApp so that it guides them on how to check the assets. We know that looking at the larger public, we are engaging also with, in partnership with what you call the GAO. GAO is the National Government Administration Offices. So it helps so that through that structure of government, where we have the DCC, the ACC, and then up to even the assistant, the chief and the assistant chiefs, we are in partnership with the Ministry of Interior so that we're able to reach out to the wider members of the public through that, so that at least they're able to be informed that there's an authority that has deals with unclaimed assets. Therefore, they will be able to check. So that is the team that we're working with. And as I mentioned earlier, also with the Huduma Kenya, though we are only in 5 centers which have already piloted in Nairobi, the GPO, we have City Square, we have Isili, and Makadara, and Kibra, and we are in the process of now expanding in the different parts of the country so that we get these services closer to the members of the public. So for the caller and or person who was already saying that indeed they know that the dad had some assets, then they can reach us through that. Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at the strategic plan 2023 to 2028 focus areas for the authority. And I want to bring in a different aspect here because I'm looking at your objectives vis-a-vis the mentality of Kenyans. If you look at some of the comments here saying, well, the certain bad manners that the government has in as far as institutions are concerned and how they should be working, let alone concerns that arise from NHIF. Now we're in SHA. Something is always almost not working at some point. A bit of excuses here and there, NSSF, etc. You know, we have the seniors lining up and they don't have enough money, etc. or something, just a certain delay. And I just want to refer to your strategic plan. And you are, according to the authority, now delivering in accordance with the Constitution, Unclaimed Financial Assets Act, and other relevant laws in realizing increased reunification to the rightful owners. And number 2, the authority will be effective, efficient in service delivery by automation, digitization, and services onboarding on e-citizen, maximizing partnerships and driving safeguarding mandate, etc. Which means you're aligning yourself with the Constitution. Sure. I just want your reassurance to the Kenyans that your authority is, I wouldn't say immune, all right, but safe from, all this corruption that has been going on. Kenyans have a trust deficit for, government aligned authorities. Now, I'm speaking on behalf of the common Mwananchi who has their head this way, if they can see me, as far as what you're saying today. What's your reassurance of your accountability and transparency as an authority? Okay.
I thank you for that. I know for sure as Kenyans, we are in this environment that what you've just read and said could be raising a concern. And of course, as a government institution, there is the fear that probably one could be, or we may be directed otherwise. But let me give the assurance to say that we know that these funds, and it is well clear that the funds that the authority is holding is actually for individuals. It's not monies from the exchequer or any from any other source of government. So, however, the government put this institution to safeguard for purpose of just looking for the owners at one pool. So I want to give that assurance that indeed the funds will be well secured, as I mentioned again, until when the owners come. For your information, the Act provides for perpetuity in terms of these funds. I think that is the beauty about it. Okay. So regardless of how many years it will take, some beneficiaries at some point will be able to come and find these funds. And in terms of what we do, as I mentioned again, to safeguard, we engage widely. We have forums also with the various stakeholders who include the holders themselves. And even when we meet with the national, the GAUs, as I mentioned, we also listen to what are some of the challenges and how we can get better in service delivery. So we have forums in which we engage the various sectors, those who are in the circle industry, those who are in the banking industry, in the insurance industries, so that we listen to the ground as well. That will help us even to change, or rather to improve in our processes, so that we are able to get these funds back to the owners and back to the economy. I
want to hold on to your point about funds being held in perpetuity, and that might be an issue that folks will have, that, will that money, so long as there is a proof line that money has actually come to the authority, or those assets essentially have been released to the authority, will they be there until the time where this individual or this family member comes to pick them up?
Yes, let me say yes, because as I mentioned, the Act is very clear, and we are bound to be able to comply by that as well. And therefore, we do encourage. That's why sometimes people ask, like, I am not sure I'll get this money even in 10 years. Remember, I mentioned the lengthy succession process that takes place, such that those who have passed on, the beneficiaries may take almost 10 years, to some even 20 years. We've had different forums in different places, what we call reunification clinic. And you'd find most of the people who come to queue to check are talking of my pension hasn't, or my husband or my wife had a certain account someplace, and then when we check, they don't have any papers. They have not been given grants to be the people who are managing that estate. So some of that which has come clear is that we need a lot of awareness also for people to know that they need to start that process of succession, and also those who handle this should be able to process them quickly and efficiently, so that these people are able to benefit. So with that, with that in mind, that there's all this lengthy succession process, then these funds are meant to be safe until when the beneficiaries, the rightful beneficiaries, come or to come and claim them.
You mentioned some amounts that people have actually received over a period of time.
Yes.
Walk us through this, please. What is it that they did to, first of all, get to the point where they're coming to claim the funds? And what else did they do so that they were now able to receive the funds?
Okay. Once an individual or someone has seen that the assets are with us, let me also put it like part of the way that we...
Just pause.
Yes.
When you say assets are with you, in the website that you have, what do you publish? So that when someone visits, they can know, perhaps this is the asset that belongs to my late father, mother, uncle.
Are there numericals?
We do. What we publish is they are names of individuals, of course, maybe companies and all, and then also the funds which are associated, or rather, which are for that person, depending on what we've received from the holders. Then, once they're able to check and find the name, and they now reach out to us and we guide them. They are able to be guided on how to claim those funds. For those who have been reunited, if it is an individual, for instance, they are supposed to have the identification, which of course is the ID or passport, and they're able to have what we call the holder's letter. The holder will be able to confirm. This is the one I was saying, that it's their responsibility to try and reach out to the owners by writing to them and writing finally when they remit that we have not reached you. They said the funds have been remitted to Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. You may now proceed to claim, or rather check with them. So that is one of the documents that we must have. And the holder's letter to ascertain that this is actually the person, and we confirm that is the same name that is in our records. And then there are also other forms that operationally needs to be filled, called indemnity forms, which we will be able to give just to indemnify the authority as well. And also what we do even in verifying the national ID or passport, we also check with the registration of the IPRS. We have a link that we're able to ascertain that this is the correct individual. So when all those, when one has satisfied now the requirements in terms of documentation and the bank account where that funds will be paid, or in some situations the M-Pesa, the holder, or rather the claimant will clarify what form of payment, or rather how they need to be paid. But most of the people are paid by bank, so we have all those documentations, and it goes through an internal process of verification. Let me say, for those who are beneficiaries, especially for death claim, for those who are for deceased cases, it takes a longer process, because we must ascertain the grants that have been granted for them to be the estate administrators for whoever has passed on. So what we do, we do verify with the various courts who issued the grants. And of course, the identification of those who are claiming the same way must provide with us their IDs, which we go the same process of also verifying. And over and above, a death certificate also. And so all those are put together. And again, where those funds are going to be paid. So one of the important things which I want to mention, for any beneficiary claims, we actually publish for 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to publish it in the Gazette. So for any no objection, for anyone who may raise any objection or raise any issue, the 30 days has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So digitization is a big deal in terms of, the whole process of making it easier for folks around the country, and even folks who may be outside the country to get, because you can imagine the things that you're talking about, fill this form, indemnity, go back and forth. Somebody's living in Munich, or somebody's living in Doha and wants to be able to do this for their family members. So digitization, I believe the CS last year actually said, you know what? This is something that you have to embark on in order to make this process seamless. We've seen members of parliament calling on the authority to do the same thing in terms of digitization of this process of the authority itself and the processes for claiming assets. How far are you along with this?
Yeah. Thank you. We are actually in the process. We already have some the forms in the e-citizen, so that anyone could claim from wherever they are, they're able to access. So those claim forms and all that we require for members of the public, those who are around or even far. We have had even people from away from diaspora who actually been able to claim and reunified with their assets. We've also encouraged we used to do a lot of manual documentation. People bring their hard copies, but we have since been able to encourage people to just scan and send them to us. So we are on e-citizen, especially with the forms that we require for the claim forms and all that I mentioned just now. So we encourage the members of the public as well to be able to get that, to reach us and start that process. I agree, you can be verified, you can come to Nairobi or go to your maybe the nearest chief's place and the like. So we encourage people to be able to check on the citizen to get our forms and start the process and submit the forms.
But in fact, even if you simply Google, there's a lot of information.
I was actually going to say that. Yeah, I did the same thing on my phone now.
There is for sure.
And I was going to come to that. You said that there is a challenge of awareness, and what you're doing today is part of it, creating more of that awareness and sensitization. And for those who are listening today, perhaps just so the public would understand the importance of making sure that this word is out to your family members, to your next of kin. And we cannot emphasize that enough. Because now this is where I'm coming in. There is us here in studio. There's those in the urban center. There are those who have exposure to the digitization that we're talking about. But then there is that person who is probably headed to the garden or the farm this morning, who speaks vernacular. And we're glad and privileged to have you here as the CEO today. But what else are you doing extra to reach further those in the remote areas? And as far as this awareness is concerned, and I'm just really curious on that particular stretch to ensure that nobody's asset is lost or unclaimed.
Okay, thank you. We, as an institution, we are considering various forums or platforms that we can use to reach the public. And one also is even going to speak in vernacular stations, because we realized, as you mentioned, over time, of course, we review our processes, and we have noted that indeed we need to reach to the wider Kenyans who may not be able to listen to maybe Spice, for instance, at this time, or even not able to watch the TV and all. So one of the considerations, we have started getting to speak on different vernacular stations so that we're able to mobilize and reach out as much as possible as part of the sensitization and creating that awareness to the members of the public. So that process is actually starting. We had started before, but now we have realized we need to go wider and go into many various vernacular stations. Yes.
according to, so all of this and the operations are guided by the Act, obviously, like you said. So you're not going to be able to wake up one morning and decide, well, okay, 80 billion shillings looks like something fun that we can use to invest, and get a little bit of profit and then put the money back, kind of thing. So the Act essentially is a safeguard. And so is that not something that folks can then be able to look at and say, well, because of that, our money is essentially safe or not?
True, the Act is a safeguard. And even as an institution, we're alive to it, that we must comply and be aligned to that. Two, we encourage, of course, you can get even the Act as well, even on the when you Google in the website, it is there, so one can read and understand. So we'd like to give that assurance that indeed the funds are safe. Again, we are under Treasury as an institution, so we also get proper approvals and guidance. It's not that we just operate independently and utilize the funds and do our own things, but we are also guided accordingly within the regulations of government as well.
Oh, by the way, a question. Are you aware of the names of the individuals who have not claimed? Do you have a list of who they are?
Yes, we do have. We do have.
So you can actually do a campaign where you're getting in touch with them one-to-one, as opposed to a blanket placard of Kenyans, come and get your money. You can actually call them, CT, you've got 1 billion shillings, please come and get it. And then you can actually do a direct call or direct communication. I mean, you're excited. You're excited about the 1 billion shillings, aren't you?
No, I'm not excited.
But you're smiling.
Is
that something that you would be able to go into?
Yes, we can. We have considered that, and that's why at some point where even we partnered with the Ngaos was when we realized, we went to their database and we were able to map out using the IDs, because we're exploring all possible means that we can reach, and of course that is one aspect. Two, we have also published at some point names in the newspapers to ask people to come to us. Of course, you don't put the amount, but we'd ask them, reach out to us. We have your name in the database and we have funds for you. So we are considering even doing that more often. And now, and especially as I mentioned, all possible forums that we can use, the vernacular stations, again, republishing even the names, because every year, of course, we get new additional names. We publish that. And where we are able to get the contacts, as I mentioned, one of the challenges, you may get unstructured reports. It just comes with a name, and sometimes without the contacts. So we now have to struggle. We probably now have to see, can we use the IP arrest through the ID, get the details of a person, then somehow we get the contacts. So those are some of the challenges what we're having. But I believe as we go along using different forums that we have put in place, we'll be able to reach the Kenyans.
So, I mean... It's true, this question that I'm hearing it in my ear. It's actually funny, but it's true. So what if after some time, because we've seen that there've been review of acts from Parliament, there've been review of acts and certain things. It's 80 billion shillings. I'm telling you, 80 billion shillings, you put it, for example, today into education and you do wonders. Put 80 billion shillings into this SHA that people are complaining about, you do wonders. So do you think there would be a time where, okay, if there's a lot of money that has not been unclaimed, is it not possible that these could actually be transferred to somewhere else that will actually benefit government programs, things like that? Does that ever come into the conversation?
It's true that conversation has been proposed sometimes, but what I said is that there would be a legal framework to guide that.
Okay.
There's no way that anybody would want to do anything that would be contrary to what is in the Act. So that conversation and engagement and consultation with the different stakeholders in this case would have to take place, and before any step or any decision is made to do otherwise with these funds.
So what's your call to action today for Kenyans?
I would want to ask all the Kenyans who are listening this morning, please check on our website. Please reach out to the chief for those who are not able to get to any other new forum or other platforms to check with us and also check with the Duma centers so that they're able to claim the assets. And for sure, there are people who've checked and they are surprised to actually find that their names and the monies are there. One other call I want to make is there is a perception that these funds are people who are deceased. It's not. It's for everyone. Yes. So both alive and those who unfortunately have passed on, their beneficiaries can look for these funds.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.